because Klang is a representation of Malaysia. So you have the entire all of Malaysia in one place, which is very rare. But it's also a place where you actually see lots of new changes happening. You have now begin to look at all the different sources of raw water that you have to keep available and ready. You do not want a situation where you actually have a city where people are moving out though. So therefore, as part of planning going forward, you have to address the issue of sea level rise. The issue for Malaysia right now is one, poverty, close the gap in the rich and the poor. We have to save Malaysia, selamatkan Malaysia. Selamatkan Malaysia for what? One, stability.
Hello, good day everyone. I am Tasnim and you're watching Top News Podcast. With me today is... Okay, so he has two designations, not exactly designations, just two reference points that we all know him by. It's Charles Santiago. He is former Klang MP and the National Water Services Commission Chairman. And you guys might know it as SPAN. Easier, right? SPAN.
Yeah,
okay. So thank you so much for joining us today. I know you have a busy schedule with the state elections and everything going on right now. But let's go first to the most important thing I think we all have to talk about. The Minister, Ngakoming, has expressed his desire to change Klang status to a city from a township, right?
Sure.
Okay, so what are your thoughts about the proposal and what do you think the impact will have to the residents of Klang regarding the change to a city?
Let me just begin by thanking you for this kind invitation to speak on Klang and also other issues of common interest.
Okay.
I think the idea of having or getting Klang to become a city has been in the pipeline for some time now.
Okay.
So in that sense, it's not a new idea, except that now it's been formalized. It's been formalized and the date has been fixed for November, I think. And that's where the Bandaraya of Klang, or the town of Klang, will now be called the city of Klang. And I think this is welcome. This is highly welcome because Klang is one of the most, I think, is a what do you call a representation of Malaysia.
Okay.
It's got industries, it's got culture, it has got temples, it's got mosques, it has got churches. It signifies Malaysia for you, though.
Yes.
And also is one of the biggest revenue earner for Malaysia. So it's a revenue earner. I think you have some of the biggest Malay settlements like Kampung Telogong, Pulau Indah.
Yes.
At the same time, you have Chinese new villages, and then you have Indian settlements as well. And they all have their own identity, their own culture, and it's very nice to see how they all work together in building this particular place, though, and how they have coexisted, and keep on, working together as a community moving forward. Though.
And you were the MP since 2008. I mean, sorry, you were the MP from 2008 until the last 2015.
Exactly.
You definitely played a significant role in development of Klang.
Well, I think everybody played an important role. I think the non-governmental organizations, the religious organizations, the industries, the businesses, and also the Majlis Pelarang Klang, and also the Jabat Daerah as well. So I think everybody had to play a role, and everybody had to organize a place where you actually can stay, and also a place where you can work.
Yes.
So as you go forward to become a city status, you need to have both. A place where you can actually enjoy staying, as well as enjoy...
conducive living, right?
And working as well.
Oh, sorry. Conducive living and also easy to work.
Access to work and so on and so forth. Yeah. And it's a big industrial area. It's a huge industrial area. And you have the two biggest ports in the country there.
Yes.
You have Westport and then you have Northport as well. And then you have other smaller ports. So it's actually a very beautiful place to say though. And I think this is actually very welcome, partly because now we can showcase Klang as the future of Malaysia. Though.
Oh, okay.
As the future of Malaysia. Especially in terms of its economic activities, in terms of its people, in terms of its culture, in terms of its structures though.
Okay.
In terms of structures. I mean, if you go and look at some of the structures in Klang, whether it's a mosque or whether it's there's one very beautiful mosque in Telogong.
Okay.
You should visit the place.
Telogong, okay.
And then also in Kampung Nelayan, for example, though. Also a very nice, beautiful place. And then you have also some of the temples in Panamaran. as well as Tengku Kelana as well. So you have the entire all of Malaysia in one place, which is very rare. But it's also a place where you actually see lots of new changes happening. The place has really expanded. If you want, there was this old Klang, and now there's a new Klang, Parklands, and so on and so forth. So the place has become, it's big. But of course, when you have a big place, it also has its own problems attached to it, though. Traffic. And of course, I'm sure you know that Klang is always associated with two things, though, bakute as well as rubbish. This is the problem that we have. So I think going forward to becoming a city or a person who stays in a city, people have to take the issue of rubbish very seriously.
Yes, I agree.
Very, very seriously. And another issue that I think Klang has to look to start planning is the issue of flooding. Flooding and sea level rise. So together, they pose significant challenge for Klang. So while there are a lot of things to celebrate about, there are a lot of things to be happy about, Klang becoming a city, but at the same time, there are challenges that we need to address going forward.
You know, it's ironic because Selangor is always said to have water issues, right? But then there's so many floods happening, flash floods happening. Is there a way, maybe at SPAN, are you guys looking at this problem?
I think the way forward is learning from other countries. And for example, in Australia, now they have this new system where you have flood mitigation ponds. That means in a taman, if it floods, the water goes straight into the pond itself. So in that way, we already have started one or two embryonic experiments in Klang, but now this has to be taken forward, though. This one requires political will as well as allocation from the federal government and a commitment on the part of the federal government that we need many different kinds of sources of water, though, that we need to store this water for a long period of time. I think, you know, as we talk about environment, as we're alluding to environment, we need to look at a scenario, at some point in the future, it could be next year, it could be the following year, where you might not have rain for a good 5 months or 6 months. And it's also very hot as well, though. This is a scenario that's already happening. And it's a matter of time when it's coming to your shore, though, when it's coming to your country. So I think in terms of planning, that is the scenario in which we have to respond to. So if you look at it from that point of view, then you have to now begin to look at all the different sources of raw water that you have to keep available and ready just in case you are in that situation. Like for example, the UN has just said that July was the hottest month ever.
Ever in history of the world, right?
Ever. And today, Europe and America is facing one of the heat, a heat wave that's unbelievable. And some of the jungles are in flames right now. So we have to keep that in mind as we plan to protect the environment and also to protect lives. Because today, life and the environment is linked together. If it floods, people have no choice but to move. So you already have a tendency, for example, in some parts outside of Klang, for example, where, say, for example, in Sri Muda. Sri Muda. I went to Sri Muda 6 months after the major floods, though. That means the floods took place in December 18, 19, 20th. And then I went there together with our staff sometime maybe in May or June after that, because I heard complaints about the situation. When I went there, I looked at the ceilings, the walls, and the walls were not repainted, and you can see the paints were coming out. So I asked the Pachi, I said, Pachi, macam mana tak belum cat ke ni? He says, I can't cat because the wall is damp. This is 6 months.
6 months after the flooding.
And then on the ground, on the floor, we went to one house where they had a challenged child, and he can't walk. So they have to put him on the ground. So the father was telling me that they can't put him on the ground because yang tilam yang mereka pakai, bantal yang mereka pakai itu semua tu menjadi basah. So that means the water is stocked at the bottom after 6 months. So can you imagine and he is telling me, if he didn't own that house, he would have moved out, though.
And he's stuck. He's just stuck there, right?
Exactly. So therefore, I think this is something that we have to keep in mind as we move from a town status kepada satu city.
I think like one of the major things when you become a city, you're also prone to crime rates, right? But it's unavoidable. Crime is happening everywhere. What you already have to face environmental issues, and then crime, and also you were talking about rubbish, so maintenance. Who is in charge? The city council, or is it the parliament member, or you mentioned political will? So should there be a merger of both sides going on?
I think it's a tanggungjawab bersama. It's a
Okay.
common responsibility of everybody. But the key agency that needs to worry about drains and rubbish is the local council.
Local council. Okay.
This is a perennial problem, though.
Okay.
Not only in Klang but elsewhere. But of course, Klang gets always pointed to when it's because of rubbish. I think this is something that we really have to take seriously. And the government, especially local councils, really have to deal with the issue of rubbish.
Okay.
Although now it's much better than before.
Okay.
With the use of KDEB to clear the rubbish and so on, it is much better than before. However, what happens is factories use the drain as their way to remove
waste.
their sisa,
Yeah.
all their waste products and so on. Factories use it. Restaurants do that. They whatever sisa makanan mereka ada, mereka buang terus kepada your drain, and then people also take advantage of that and throw it as well. So I think this is where the local council must be decisive and enforce the law. And this is, I think, quite important.
Okay. So
And we have, and when I was there for the last so many years, we had consistent the number of campaigns on keeping Klang clean, Klang green as well, though.
Yes.
So we really have to push very hard on this and educate people, and with TikToks, with all kinds of
The younger
events,
generation, especially,
yeah.
right? So, like, do you think the new Klang MP has been doing his job for the past few months? He's been in office.
That you have to ask the people of Klang.
Okay,
I can't ask.
Okay lah. So okay, let's go. But personally, I want to ask you, like, on a personal basis, are you happy with the new news that it may become a city soon?
No, it is coming a city. The day
Okay.
has been fixed
Are you-
already. I think it's good. But I think moving into becoming a city requires more responsibility and more commitment. And the commitment on the part of the local council, state government, as well as the people themselves, including industries. And everybody should be seen as part of the process, that we are all stakeholders, that there's nobody is out of this picture. Everybody is consulted.
Everybody is involved.
Everybody is involved. Now, one of the things that if we were part of a city is you have to really push on environmental questions, though. And you can be assured that Klang will face environmental issues going forward. It's already facing it now. Sea level rise, for
Yes.
example, is a major issue, especially you're a town that's facing the sea. So you have no choice. And there are two people, industries will be affected, termasuk dengan rumah-rumah yang dekat dengan
the coast.
the coast, yeah. So, for example, Telagong will be affected, Pulau Indah will be affected, Pandamaran will be affected. So, that's something you really have to give priority. No way around this, though. No way around this. You can push it, and the more you push it or you postpone the problem, the cost is going to be higher. The human cost is also going to be higher.
Yes.
And don't be surprised, just like in other countries, people will start moving.
Moving out.
So you do not want a situation where you actually have a city where people are moving out, though. So therefore, as part of planning for going forward, you have to address the issue of sea level rise as well as the issue of floods. This is something you really have to address, though. And I think people have come to manage the issue of rubbish much better compared to before, because there is a very considerate effort from the local council, Majlis Pengeluaran Klang, KDEB, local associations,
Okay.
the local resident
Because you
associations.
have the people's buy-in. dekat
Exactly.
situ.
So we have to work. We have to work with them. We have dialogues with them. Over the years, we had so many dialogues, though, and also and to increase commitment on all parts. It's just not a commitment on the part of MPK, but the commitment must also be shown on the part of the local resident associations.
Okay.
So I have organized so many meetings, direct bilateral meetings, and then multilateral meetings with everybody to sit on the table how to solve the issue of rubbish, for example, or garbage collection, for example. So when you meet, when you talk, you're able to resolve this thing. And I think in the last so many years, there's been a significant move towards keeping the place clean. But I think now we need to move to the second stage of recycling. Because a large, large part of what is thrown into the drains, into Klang River especially, are plastic bottles,
Yes.
though. Plastic bottles. Now, this is something that we have to do. I started a campaign to get people not to use plastic bottles.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, by giving them the bottle
Bottles,
to
okay.
use.
Reusable
I should have
bottles.
brought some here. Though.
Okay.
I completely forgot, though.
Okay.
And also, I'm a bit not sure how to do it because it had my name and then Ali Parliament Klang, though.
Oh, no.
So then the new parliament member will think, hey, I'm sabotaging him, though. So you know how people think. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, next time, just have to change take out
Just
the Ali
Klang,
Parliament.
I love Klang.
I love Klang.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that we have to do. Keep on impressing, and especially among school children.
Yes, yes.
Recycling is important. That cannot throw any plastic bottles into the drain. In fact, not to use plastic at all. Though.
Yeah.
This
definitely.
should be the way, and that is one of the markers that you should do as part of a city. Though.
Okay.
Move away completely from plastics, and they'll be very consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals, which our
Definitely.
government has signed on to. And therefore, I think this is something that has to be pushed and pushed hard.
Do you think the government has been promoting green and pro environment projects and initiatives lately?
The government has, but I think it has to increase the
Strength.
increase the
Promotion.
project, promote it better,
Okay.
get local people's involvement, and really push very hard though. Make it the number one issue for Malaysia. Though.
Okay.
Because there are many ways of promoting the economy. There are many ways of expanding the economy. One of the ways to expand the economy is actually to move now from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And this is actually moving towards renewable energy though.
Okay.
We're always focusing on electric cars and so on. How many people can afford electric cars?
Exactly.
But you can take some part of the money and tell people, don't use plastics, but use a bottle though. Not a recycle bottle, the bottles that we
Yeah,
use.
the drinking bottles.
The drinking bottles. So that way, you actually save the environment much better. And of course, as a city, you also have to now increase public transportation.
Yes.
This is key. So your carbon emissions are reduced.
Yes.
So as you move to become a city, you become more responsible for the environment.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right.
This is the challenge.
Yeah.
So for Klang going forward, challenge would be one, floods, sea level rise, public transportation, recycling. I can go on and on though.
Yes.
I think this is
Definitely
important.
environment number satu lah.
Yeah, itu isu pokok sebenarnya.
Yeah,
Isu pokok.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to SPAN, as you are the SPAN chairman again, reappointed. What's your plan now? I haven't seen any major agendas on the table for us to follow.
Actually, we've been quite active, I must say, though.
Okay.
In the last 3-4 months, we've been quite active. I was appointed in April by the Prime Minister, PMX. And since then, we have been quite active on a number of issues.
Okay.
I'm sure you're familiar with the May 13th problem in between Penang and Kedah.
Yes. Yes.
The sensor problem, right?
Yes.
Sensor problem. So actually what we've done is we have actually gone to Kedah and we went to Penang. We had a discussion with all the players, I must say though,
Okay.
in Kedah as well as in Penang. So we brought them together in one room and talked to each other finally though. So first we had the private meetings and then we did a meeting together with the recommendations that we
Okay.
did. We talked to the minister first and then secondly we asked all the water players from from Penang to come, Kedah to come, sit on the same table,
Wow.
opposite each other, together and talk
Okay.
to settle this issue though. Because sometimes you just have to take the phone and call and solve the problem though.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was taken out of I understand what the MB was saying about the whole water issue, and I understand what Penang was saying about the whole water issue, but certain players were trying to use it to their political benefits.
Yeah.
And people totally got misconstrued. People don't realize actually the problem was water
Yes.
and the rivers and the lakes and whatever involved. So from the discussions, was there any actual political motives involved?
Let's leave the politics
Okay,
aside
okay,
though,
okay,
because then now it's election time. You never know how these things
Might get
get
out of hand.
multiplied. Yeah. But I think it was a technical glitch.
Okay.
The technology that was used actually is 20 years old.
Okay.
And I think there were issues of maintenance. There was an issue of not looking at it much more carefully. Pemantauan mungkin dapat ditingkatkan dan sebagainya. But we have made a recommendation, short term, mid term, and long term.
Okay.
So, and I think on the short term proposals, both sides have agreed. Yes, there is a problem though.
Okay.
Both sides, there is a problem, and now they are collaborating with each other to see not to repeat the same problem though. Because if it repeats again, it's another maybe 500 million, 600 million dollars loss. And in the case of Penang, I think it's 1.5 days that they had no water or lack of water, because in any house you should have a minimum storage of 2 days.
Okay.
But other than you have to pump the water back. But the problem is factories. So Kulim High Tech Park had a problem, other factories had problems and so on. It's different between scheduled disruption and unscheduled.
Yes.
So when it's unscheduled, then the factories are not prepared with storage, which means that they have to restart the factory though.
Oh my God.
So it's very costly. And then in the case of Kedah took almost a week before they could entirely, and all of Kedah could get water. So it's a bit challenging so we don't want that to repeat that.
Yeah.
So what we have done is we have said, okay, this is something that has to be done, and everybody has to focus on communicating better with each other. That's number one. And then number two, to declare the place a security place, which is 24/7 managed by a variety of.
You mean before this there wasn't any security happening?
Very minimal level.
Oh wow.
Minimal level. And then third, we are asking for what you call a river basin to be set up though. So the river basin essentially, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then there will be more resources that will come, and you can turn the place into ecosystem, economic ecosystem though.
Okay.
So right now it's not it doesn't bring in money, but if you turn the place into an ecosystem, like what they do in the Murray-Darling River Basin in Australia, where they've turned the entire place into a scenic place though. Where
like
you can
tourism spot.
Like a tourist spot.
Well, it's going to be beautiful.
Exactly. So that way, Kedah can benefit, and Penang also can benefit. Actually, it's more Kedah that will benefit, though.
Okay.
And that means also you take over the agency will take over the entire ecosystem. There will be no deforestation, and you ensure that there is no disruption of water. Though.
Oh, wow, this sounds amazing.
See?
When is it going to happen?
So now you know why I'm there, right?
Yeah. So, like, where exactly the river basin is going to be there in the area?
The same thing, but you heighten now it's under JPS.
Okay.
Now it's under JPS. Now you still allow JPS to manage it.
Okay.
But it will be a much more thought out, much more planned out, and so on and so forth. But that one will take a bit of time because it involves land.
Land, yeah.
Land, and then also, the sempadan, where is the sempadan? That itself.
That's a tricky situation.
Yes, exactly.
So, is there any dates on the pipeline we can expect, for the construction of the basin or?
No, that is a bit of a long term, but there's something that the ministry has to take up. We have made the recommendation.
Okay.
We are a Suruhanjaya. Kawal Selia.
Yeah.
So therefore, we cannot.
You cannot give the dates.
The government has now to move on it.
Okay.
We made our recommendations. Now the government has to jump on it and then say, okay, this is what we want to do.
Okay, I will follow up with YB Nick Nasrin.
Ask him.
Okay.
We already made a presentation to him.
Okay.
Now he has to make the call.
All right. Okay. I'll ask him about this beautiful river basin coming to Kedah and Penang. Okay. All right. So, is there anything else that?
I think coming back to this thing about the basin, the Kedah. Sensor problem.
Yeah.
I think the three things we have to maintain though. One, the water is there for floods.
Yes.
To regulate floods, to manage floods. Sorry. And then number two, for agriculture, for the farmers, especially the rice farmers.
Yeah.
And then number three is actually a supply of water. And this is where the thinking has to change. And I think the most urgent thing to do right now is to change the technology that is in their place right now.
Okay.
Because the technology is 20 years old. There are 14 gates, 8 of which does not work. And you're going to have this problem recurring if you don't do something about it. Okay. So we have been told that now the tender has already been called and they're already now identifying the people who actually can come and install the new equipment and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Because this is a disaster waiting to happen though.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It sounds scary.
Yeah, you do what you can.
We need to make it happen. Okay, so we're done talking about Klang and water issues right now. I need to ask you a few questions about politics.
Sure,
if you don't
go
mind.
ahead. Sure.
Okay, so the 3R issue has become the central theme for the state elections. What are your thoughts on the matter? Because with the 3R, are we able to actually address the real problems happening in the country?
I think if you ask me, the real problem facing...
Or is it 3R the real problem in the country?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think the country is in a crisis.
Okay.
And therefore, we need to support, and as my personal view, the leadership of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim.
Okay.
And why do I say that? Because he has a plan. The Madani economic plan was put forward. And also in the case of Selangor, we also have the similar plan put forward by the Menteri Besar Amiruddin Shari. So clearly there is a plan, and this is a workable plan. Now, I'm sure you're familiar that the inflation rate has come down from 2.8 to 2.5%. Now, this is after only 6 months of taking over. Whereas previously, prices were very high. And understandably, to be fair to the previous administration, it was high. But now there's an attempt to reduce the prices. But of course, you go to the ground, people will say, I don't feel it though. I don't feel it. I don't feel the prices coming down. It is true because our wages are low.
Yes.
Our wages are low. And that is why in the Madani economic program, the government has said we are going to have something called progressive wage increases.
Yes, yes.
So this is something that needs to happen. So the issue for Malaysia right now is one, poverty, close the gap in the rich and the poor.
Yes.
It's not so much whether you are a Kadazan poor person or a Kadazan millionaire, or you're a poor Malay person or a rich Malay man or a bourgeois Malay man or Chinese or Indian. But whoever you are, as long as you're a citizen of this country, the gap between the rich and the poor has to close. Yeah. And workers must see that their wages are increasing. Real wages though.
Yes.
Real wages has to increase.
Yes.
That means they can purchase more for their families based on increase in salaries. So end of the day, the 3 R's don't matter. Don't matter if people have sufficient food at home, quality of life is there, children can go to school with some of the best schools in the country. Yeah. That is why the Madani government plan is to transform the education system to become global standard though. So therefore, I think there is a plan that is workable, and I think all Malaysians need to support that plan and support the leadership of Dr. Sri Anwar Ibrahim and the Madani economic program though. Okay. And also I think that Sri Anwar has made it very clear that he understands the problems of the minorities, of the very poor in the country. He understands it. So that is why he was saying that kemiskinan tegah, absolute poverty, he wants it solved by end of the year. He didn't say, I only want orang asli kemiskinan tegah. He said everybody. Everyone, yeah. Now that speaks for him. Okay. That speaks for his mindset. That speaks for the Madani government. But have you seen PN talking about that? They are always caught with this 3R. Yeah. Because they got no agenda. Okay. So their agenda is to talk about the 3R, provoke and get people upset though. But without a solution. But Dr. Sri Anwar and Dr. Sri Amiruddin have a plan. Okay. And plan, of course, is never perfect. It's a rolling plan, something that you work through.
It's continuously progressing, moving.
Exactly.
The Sheraton move, when it happened, just a general one, how do you feel?
I thought it was a major letdown by the people who crossed over. Though.
Yes.
It was a commitment that this government will stay and grow the economy and protect and improve the lives of Malaysians. Though. That was the promise. Yeah. But little did we know that there was a conspiracy to overthrow the government. Though. And it was not a conspiracy. It was actually from one to the other. That's all. And I think this is something that Malaysians should never ever support. It was a bitter lesson. It was a very bitter lesson. And that is one of the reasons why today young people don't trust leaders though. Okay. They don't trust leaders because you were given the mandate to run the country, but you took advantage of it and you turned the people, you did a coup d'etat. I mean, the government did a coup d'etat on itself though. Yeah. Exactly. This is the best way to describe it, though. Exactly. And point the finger at the Chinese. The Chinese are catching over. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I know this is, but that's nonsense, though. Yeah. Right. It's actually it's Mahathir who, and together with others, who planned it out. Okay. And now slowly they're telling. Slow information is coming out. What they were doing at that time.
Yeah. Okay, so before we conclude this session on the podcast, I'd just like to ask you if there is any key messages you would like to share with all the Malaysians, be it from the political point of view or the span as PAN chairman or just as the former MP of Klang, like what's the message for the people amidst all the current situation happening right now?
I think we have to save Malaysia.
Okay.
We have to save Malaysia, selamatkan Malaysia. Selamatkan Malaysia for what? One, stability. We need that stability. Number two, we need to close the gap in the rich and the poor. Number three, we need progressive wages to happen. And then number four, we have to ensure that every Malaysian, must feel that they have benefited from the wealth of the nation, though. The wealth of the nation. It doesn't go to one group or one agency or one individual, but it is equitably distributed as much as possible for everybody, though. Issues of malnutrition should never be in Malaysia's dictionary. Number two, issues of school dropout among students, whether they're Indian Malay students or Indian students, should never ever happen, though. People must love to go to school, though. That is, and today, just to digress a bit, there was a recent study done among young Malay boys who are now e-hailing drivers. Though.
Okay.
What did they say after having the SPM? They don't want to study.
Yeah.
They don't want to study because they can earn money from e-hailing. They can do it maybe for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but that's it.
Yeah.
After that, what happens? So something has gone wrong.
Yes.
So we have to get them back to school, though. Upskill them, give them the training, and move up the ladder, though, so that they can earn sufficient amounts of money to protect their families, to take care of their families. And when they do that, society can benefit from it. Because they don't realize they have to work for 14 hours, they have to work for 16 hours to earn the 2,000, to earn the 3,000.
And it's not even like enough. I mean, it's basic minimum wage within the area.
And there's no safety.
Yeah.
Look at the way sometimes they're on the motorbike, running around, no? And the accidents that they have.
Yeah.
It's not safe at all. No protection for them. But if there is education for them, then they can earn within the 8 hours of work 3,000, 4,000, maybe even 5,000.
It begs the question of the future of Malaysia, because if everybody is going into e-hailing to be influencers, content creators, who will be doing the professional jobs as well?
Yeah.
And
again, it'll go back to the elite. So. And therefore, we need to break that monopoly. We need to let every Malaysian, in which part of the country, to go to school, get a good education, go overseas, get an exposure, come back and serve the country so that you can grow this country, though. And I think we need to grow this country together as one group and not to divide and rule and appear that it's not happen, though. Now the one group says you need to break and rule, though. But Dr. Anwar says no, we have to bring all of them together, though. So that is why we have to save Malaysia.
Okay. All right, save Malaysia it is. And that's about it for our podcast session here today. Thank you for watching. I'm Tasim. Don't forget to follow all our social media platforms at Sinar Daily MY. See you guys. Thanks.